And a pleasant good afternoon to you. John Verlin with On-Demand Advertising Solutions and Digital Marketing Update. This is podcast 61, and it's going to be part 2 of an earlier podcast where we talked about most asked questions about small business, and it was compiled by the Association of Specialized and Cooperative Library Agencies. And got good feedback on the last one, so we're going to answer a few more questions, typical questions, most asked questions about small business. A lot of times people, when they start a business, they wonder, and particularly if they have a friend or an associate, if they should get a partner or not. Would this make it easier to be successful? A partner doesn't guarantee success. Now, you might require additional management skills or startup capital. Could be a great decision for your business. Of course, your personality and your character and the ability to give technical or financial assistance can ultimately determine the success of the partnership. Usually these occur when partners complement each other. So one, if you have a weakness, they complement that and vice versa. If you decide that a partner would be a good idea, make certain each of you has a clear written understanding of your responsibilities and your rights, because, you can start out being friends and end up being enemies, and everything needs to be laid out in black and white. It's just good common sense and good business. How can you hire qualified employees? That's the next question most asked of small business. Basically, you got to be careful on choosing employees. Decide beforehand what you want them to do. I know this is tough sometimes. Be specific. The more specific, the better. You may need flexible employees who can shift from task to task as required. Make sure you interview them and screen them with care. Remember, good questions lead to good answers, and the more you learn about each applicant's experience and skills, the better prepared you are to make a decision. I know a lot of today, they will do some testing, wanting to see examples of work, things along that line, to give you a taste of their expertise and what you can expect from them, and also what they can expect from you. That's why everything in writing, as determined in advance as best as possible, is proactive to hiring a good, successful employee. What about wage levels? How do you set this? Well, they're calculated using position importance and skill retirements as a criteria, and you can consult a trade association or accountant to learn the most current practices, cost ratios, profit margins in your field. Now, while there is a minimum wage set by federal law and by some states for most jobs, the actual wage paid is entirely between you and your prospective employee, but you do want to check out any laws, state laws, particularly as far as hourly wage. What about other financial responsibilities do you have for employees? Well, you must withhold federal and state income taxes from all wages and salaries, contribute to unemployment and workers' compensation systems, and match Social Security benefits or contributions. And you also might want to inquire about key employee life or disability insurance, because laws on these matters, vary from state to state, and you need to check with your local sources about that. What kind of security measures must I take? That's a great question of all kinds, on all kinds of levels. Crimes ranging from armed robbery to embezzlement, they can wipe out any business. So you should install a good physical security system. And just as important, establish policies and safeguards to ensure awareness and honesty among your personnel. That's why getting a good hire is so important, that they're trustworthy. And it's a two-way street. They know if you're authentic and you're trustworthy, and you want to hire somebody that's likewise. Keep in mind, too, computer systems can be used to defraud as well as keep records. So check into computer security, particularly nowadays with so much hacking going on overseas and from wherever. And you might even take seminars on how to spot and deter shoplifting. If you have a retail business, how to handle cash and merchandise. Careful screening when you're hiring can really be a great ally against crime, because you can maybe catch some behaviors that you want to kind of weed out in the very beginning. And also develop a plan for coping with disaster as part of your security operations. Of course, you can't predict fire, flood, earthquake, tornadoes, whenever a disaster might take place, but being prepared with a spare set of essential, regularly updated business records kept off premises can spell the difference between when or if you will reopen for business after the emergency. I know a lot of times there are data management companies who will back up your data off premise rather, so have a backup in case of emergencies like this, a tornado hits or a flood. What about hiring family members to work for you? Well, frequently, family members of the owner can help out in the business, and for some small business owners, it's a rewarding experience. But for others, it can cause irreparable damage. So, carefully consider their loyalty and their respect for you as the owner. A question of major importance that you must be able to answer is: can you keep your family and business decisions separate? And I would imagine with husband and wife, particularly, because that can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing, but again, it's due diligence, thinking through outcomes, planning, that sort of thing. And finally, the next question for today's podcast: do you need a computer? Well, in today's world, probably yeah. Computers, of course, are useful for word processing, accounting, data gathering. Computers, however, aren't cure-alls, and you should really take a look, though, if you need one, if you really do, selecting the best system or personal computer for your business, selecting the most relevant software for your needs, and ensuring that you can easily operate the system. Now, today, with all the online platforms we've talked about, you can do a lot of things yourself, but there are times where you may decide, do you want to outsource HR responsibilities? Do you want to outsource PR, accounting, personal assistant, marketing? So many things you can do now with online platforms, graphic design, web design. All this is merging with artificial intelligence to be able to create experiences that make it easy or easier. Now, you may end up having to hire or freelance a specialist or somebody to oversee some things, an accountant at the end of the year to review taxes or expenses or whatever. But the online platforms today pretty much ensure you can run a small business all the way from A to Z. But again, it's knowing if you have enough time to do it. Is it better that you hire somebody internally to do these things, or you freelance it, or bring in a part-time person? You have to make these decisions, and it's not always easy, but you can build it. And that's why the online platforms can be helpful, particularly starting out, getting your website set up, getting Quicken books, financial systems set up, getting a checking account, things like that. They can be very useful in that. John Verlin 12 at AT&T.net, websites ondemandadvertisingsolutions.com, and we will talk to you again soon.